Hi everybody, welcome to our next interview. I'm Robin from thevibrantexperience.com and I'm interviewing Kelly today, who's going to share some of her journey with us and the different challenges that she's walked through and how she's come out the other side. So Kelly, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us for our interview today to share your story. Whereabouts are you joining us from, Kelly?
I am all the way from New York in the States, all the way across the world. Robin is in tomorrow, which is so wild to me. So it's such a pleasure to be here with you. And thank you so much again for inviting me to share my story.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on and wanting to share your story. I think it will encourage a lot of people. And yeah, I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah, thank you. So like I said, I'm from New York. I am going to be 46. I'm a mom of 3. I have a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 6-year-old, all girls. And yes, surprise. She was a big surprise for us, which I was not prepared to have another baby when I had a 13 and a 10-year-old. But, God really had a bigger plan for me. And actually, she was one of the probably the reason why I really stood in my truth. I have been a dancer and a choreographer my whole life. I've done theater, I've done print, but dance was really, since I was a little girl, just what I did. And through high school and, dance companies, it was something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I had an incredible support system from my parents were amazing. I had an incredible friends, group. But through the midst of all that, I always just struggled a lot internally with myself. The dance world is not the nicest place to be, especially, a young girl. And even though I had so much support and so much love, from the outside, it looked like I had, a perfect life. I had a great boyfriend, great friends, great parents, but on the inside, I was just really always struggling, feeling like I was never enough. And through my dance journey and through, really training and going into the city and doing this, you're surrounded by, what looks to be this, these perfect people in this perfect world. And you start thinking, well, I'm not tall enough. I'm not pretty enough. And then unfortunately, when you have people in your life that you feel, for me, and not all, mentors that really weren't the nicest in terms of being a positive influence in your life, really fed into my self-doubt. So, with that, I developed, some eating disorders. I hid it, to this day. It amazes me how I hid it. Nobody knew. It wasn't something where you would look at me and say, oh, she has an eating disorder. You just looked at me and thought, oh, she's healthy. She has a great, great physique and she's, fit. But for me, I was heavily addicted to laxatives. Again, so much that nobody knew. And it was something that I was truly dying on the inside, but I always had a smile on my face. Everybody thought I was just happy-go-lucky. And meanwhile, I was just saying these horrific things to myself. And I look back and I'm like, I want to hug my younger self because I, feel bad for this girl that went through so much. So it was just something that, I would say from the age of, I always had that self-negativity, probably from the age of like 12. But then, which is that awkward, you're kind of going through that adolescent stage. And then when I hit probably about 14 is really when I really started this self-sabotage on myself. And that lasted all the way through, my high school years. And it wasn't really until my first year of college when I hit rock bottom, I had done such havoc to my inner body that I really, without getting too gory, I really wreaked havoc on my body. And so by the grace of God, I stopped cold turkey my first year of college. I never picked up a laxative again, but the mental the mental sabotage continued throughout my life.
Mm.
I always struggled with a bad relationship with food. I thought about food 24/7. I thought about, what I was going to eat, what wasn't I going to eat. I constantly looked at myself in the mirror and said horrific things to myself,
Mm.
and in play, I got married. I have a great husband. I had two incredible girls. I became a mentor to other students. And again, everybody, oh my gosh, she has this great life and she's, so happy and she's a great teacher. Yet again, I just the things I would say to myself were just so sad. And when I had our little one, I had her when I was just about to turn 40. And I was at such a, I think it was almost like everything came out of me. My hormones were like all out of whack.
Mm.
And I had some postpartum that came with it. And
Oh,
it was like all those years of self-sabotage came out. And I really
wow.
became, um, not, I just became very irritable. I was snapping at my older two. There was just something that didn't feel right. And here I was, 40 years old with three girls now,
Mm.
and still in a place of like fog. There were times that I would just go in the bathroom and go in the corner and cry.
Mm.
It's like where the only place where a mom could go and cry was like, the corner of the bathroom or the
Yeah.
shower. And I just was so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired of how I was feeling. And that's that was my journey through life, and my parents eventually knew, when I finally expressed myself. But it really wasn't until that moment that for all those years, I just really was, it was like I was trapped. My
Mm.
soul was just truly, truly trapped and not able to like live the way God intended me to live. So
Yeah.
that's where I was. I mean, and I have
Wow.
beautiful memories, and I mean, I have so many great, great memories and great times in my life and my family. It was just always this, buzzing in my ear, like, you have this big, beautiful day out and you have the gnats constantly like interrupting your day. You're still having a great day, having a
Yeah.
picnic, going to the beach, but there's always these gnats or these flies, and you're constantly, and so that's how my life was. I had so many
Mm.
beautiful moments, but there was always, these gnats. There was always this voice in my head. And, it's a shame, but I'm also now so grateful for it, because of what I went through, I am now able to stand in my truth and really be as completely as grateful as I am now.
Yeah.
There is no tall without short, right? There's no day without night. So there is no like living until you didn't live. So I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
I love that analogy. I think there'd be so many people that relate to putting on that smile and just keeping on
Mhm.
going. Like on the outside, everything's okay, when on the inside you're really, really struggling. And it takes a lot of bravery to reach out for help. And I think when you're really young, like I know for myself as well, I did that similar thing where I put a smile on my face and pretended everything was okay, and no one would know. Like it's so
Mhm.
it is easy to hide it really well. If, as I think when you're young, you just put on that big performance and
Mhm.
all of that. And I'm wondering, like for you, like what shifted to, like, or what sort of tools or what sort of things came into your life that enabled you to start to move forward and to move um, out of that space that you were in?
Mhm. It wasn't, it was, I guess, my little one was about 4 months old, and my best friend he had known me my whole life since I was 12. So he had watched my whole life evolve,
Yeah.
and he saw the struggle that I was going through, and he reached out. And, he was always my gym partner. We would go to the gym together, and, we did theater together. And so he really helped me shift my body into balance. We rebalanced my body in terms of nutrition, and that was like the start. It was really finding the right nutrition with the earth and getting rid of like the processed foods, and really just, healing myself from the inside out. And
Sure.
once I started to do that, he then introduced me to, he's like, okay, now, we got to get that mind healthy. And I'm like, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And so he introduced me to this program. It was called Growth You.
Uh-huh.
And it was I think it was like a 16-week, and you had to go on every day. And, you had to be self-motivated to do it. There was nobody there, like, checking. So, the first few days I was like, this is not for me. Like, I'm totally fine. And I think by the end of the week, I was like, okay, I'm messed up. Like, I have issues. And because I never really, I mean, I didn't know about self-development. Like, I didn't really hear that. That wasn't really a word that you heard, especially growing up. I was,
Mm,
an 80s kid. Like, self-development, like, what's that? I think I heard like Oprah once mentioned Tony Robbins, like, but I didn't know about it. And so that started. And after my first program, I was like, okay, like, I feel okay, this feels good. Like, I like this. And so then I went to one of the same growth programs down actually in South Carolina. It was a whole weekend event.
wow.
And that really set me on like being a growth junkie. It walked me through my life. It
Mhm.
walked me through doors of my life from the time I was like 5 all the way through. And I walked through this door and looked at this 12-year-old Kelly, and I was actually able to walk in and hug her and thank her for being the incredible warrior that she was from 12 all the way through. And it
Mm,
wasn't until that moment of gratitude for her fighting so hard, and that I really felt unleashed at that moment,
wow.
because I let go of it and I gave
Yeah.
thanks to my younger self, because she went through a lot and
Yeah.
nobody knew it. And
Mm,
and it wasn't until that moment that I really felt like I stepped into a place where I was feeling aligned. So that was really a huge pivotal point for me. And so then I was like, then I started like getting books, and I never considered myself a reader at all. I know how to read, but I never really picked up a book and read unless I had
yeah.
to. And so I picked up, The Morning Miracle by Hal Elrod, which was an incredible book, an easy read. And it was just about mind shifting. And one book led to another book, and one program led to another program. And I really started to learn to invest in myself as a woman. For
Mhm.
me, I was a people pleaser.
Mm,
And I just wanted, as long as everybody was happy and there was zero confrontation, I was good.
yeah.
But my cup was then completely dry and I wasn't fulfilled. So I really learned to shift that. And even though I think as women, especially, and moms, or if you're aunt or grandmother, you feel that you need to fill everybody's cup first. But
Mm,
and really, in the essence, is we have to fill ours first, so we're not pouring from an empty cup. And
yeah,
once
that's
I
so
did that, and and listen, like, I have my wall kicking moments and I have my really hard days, but it's learning not to stay in that dip, and then surround myself with people, like-minded people. And it just started to change. And this is almost a 6-year journey now that I've been on self-development.
wow.
And I'll never stop. I'll never stop. But I would say too that, if you would have met me 6 years ago, I'd be a completely different person. I probably wouldn't even be able to have talking to you, because I've been I mean, I'm nervous, but
Don't worry,
it
I am
wasn't,
too.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's normal,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I don't know, it's just something different. And I'll never forget the moment I shared my story.
Mhm.
A friend of mine went through, a program with me, and I said, I think it's time for me to share my story with the world. And
Wow.
I was like trying to figure out, should I do it like on a Sunday at 2 p.m.? He's like, whenever you feel the pull, click live and go. And I'm like, okay. And so I was like
Wow.
waiting for the moment, waiting for the moment. And I'll never forget, I was picking up my daughter from preschool, and she
Mhm.
went to at our church, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I was like, it's time. And
Oh,
I went live from my daughter's preschool parking lot, and I was sweating. Like, I had like armpit sweat. Everything was sweating, everything, and it was winter. And and I'll never forget. And it was so interesting. Right before I hit the button, I was like, "What is my parents going to think?" like me
Wow.
sharing um such, private,
Mm,
they're older, like you don't do that. But
yeah.
I did it, and a lot of people didn't agree that I shared something so personable, but the feedback that I got, messages from people that I didn't even know had things going on in their life, the outpouring of love was incredible. And from there, it just then became this snowball effect. And I started doing Sunday inspirations, and I started talking more and still sweating, but not as much.
Yeah.
And it just became, it just became now this, like, this movement. And, I have my students, I teach my students, and I found myself talking with them and empowering them more sometimes than even teaching them choreography.
Oh,
And
wow. Mm,
I it's just amazing how just one foot in front of the other, you know, I really just felt like I was finding my purpose. And
wow.
I love, and a lot of people can say they love their job, and a lot of people can say they don't love their job. I can honestly say, choreographing my whole life, I have my own dance company. I love it. I love my students. I love when they bring my vision to life. But my purpose now is a lot different than it was 10 years ago. And that's
Mm,
okay. I think,
yeah.
it was also hard for me to say, this is not really what I'm supposed to do anymore, and I'm slowly making a shift. I still teach, but I feel my pull now going in a place of, how can I empower other women? How can I empower the youth? How can I empower, a grandparent that maybe thinks at 76 they're too old to dream again? And so, it's really, I feel like that's what God has planted in me. And I mean, I don't know what tomorrow is going to hold, except in Australia. I know it holds. But and that's, I feel like, the exciting part. And it's fun, and it's refreshing, and it's scary, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know, I see things a lot clearer now. And it's finally, after all those years, I think, letting go and accepting what I went through
Mm,
and owning it. And it's okay. It, like, really finding that place of owning it. And again, I still struggle, with
mm,
things, but I'm finally free of that negative self-talk, which is really, really freeing,
yeah,
which is
that's
really freeing.
huge.
Yeah.
Mm,
But it takes a lot of work, like, you just don't say it and
yeah.
it's gone. It takes work. It takes investing in yourself. And I don't say go and spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on self-development. If you can, great. But even a book, or journaling,
Mm,
a little bit, 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll be, 300+% better, so yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I think Brendan Bashar, one of my favorite life coaches, speaks about doing something every day that's a needle moving activity, even if
Hmm.
it's just a little bit, like you said, it's just that little 1% or that one little step. If that's all you can manage, it's still getting that little bit of forward progress. And that, I don't know about you, but for me, I find even just a little bit of progress just gives me hope. And it
Hmm.
helps me feel like, oh, I can make even just that little bit. And it adds up so fast. So
It
if people
does.
can do this that little bit by like you said, by the end of the year, you'll have made leaps and bounds
Right.
in the progress that you made. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so
And
worth
I
it.
also think, too, is what you magnify, like what you focus on.
Mhm.
So, you could choose to magnify that 1% you maybe made that day, to that, instead of magnifying all the things maybe you wished it didn't happen that day.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I could think of a ton of things right now that didn't really go my way today. But what I'm going to focus on or really magnify is the fact that, my gosh, like, the sun is shining. I have 3 healthy kids. I'm talking to Robin in Australia. Like, I'm going to magnify that instead of probably the 100 things that didn't go right today,
Right.
because that's where then I'm going to pour my energy in. And my gosh, energy is everything too,
Yeah.
and I know Brendan does this, and even, Tony Robbins, it's about really getting in state, or
Mm.
just shifting your energy. One of my favorite people, her name is Peta Kelly. She's
Mhm.
actually from Australia,
Oh.
and she's amazing. You have to look her up. She's fantastic. I love
I
her
will.
to death. But she talks about just changing your energy throughout the day. So we did this one crazy exercise, and she's like, instead of walking to your refrigerator, like do a crab walk, or like spin or skip, or do something like so like crazy goofy, like do like the booty drop. She's like, whatever. And
Love it.
it does, like, it makes you laugh. My kids thought I was crazy, but it just changes the energy, because we are walking energies. And if you're walking around like that's how your day is going to be. But if you're like,
Yeah.
if you go skipping to your mailbox and your neighbors are looking at you, I guarantee you just changed all their energy and yourself. And I mean, that's just what I think really just helps so much too, is just changing your energy and changing your state, and really focusing on the beauty, really,
Mm.
and my mom always tells me, she's like, you're always frolicking in the meadow, like you're always like skipping and frolicking. And I'm like, well, first of all, my meadow's a lot more fun than other people's meadows. I want to frolic, but it's also just, I have an unwavering faith now. I
Mm.
see what is possible. I saw a quote, and it said, when we say this is not, or everything is impossible, the two words that are in impossible is I'm possible.
Wow.
And I was like,
Love that.
that went up on my board.
I love that.
And I was like, all
Wow.
right, I love that. And I don't know where who said it, but it's true. If you look at the word impossible, put a parenthesis between the I and the M, and it's I'm possible.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, we're limitless if we just allow ourselves to be, and have that faith. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love that. I'm
Yeah.
possible. I love it.
Mhm.
I've got to put that on my wall now.
I know
That's
you will.
awesome.
I
Um,
love
so with coming through on this journey that you're on now, I imagine it's had a massive impact on your family and even on your friendships and things around you. So it's not only just change your life, but it would have had that impact on those around you as well. So what what sort of impact has that had? Like, how's your family responded to it? Your relationship with the kids, that kind of thing.
So, I mean, it's interesting. They've watched this journey. My little one from the get-go, I mean, we call her my mini me. She's a ball of fire. She's awesome, but she's all she knows is mom like this. And so, I mean, from the time she could pick up a pen, she had her grateful book, and she would draw what she was grateful for.
Wow.
Um, she tells me before I get on call, she's like, face your fear, mama. She'll sit and do Tony Robbins with
Oh,
me. So like she gets it. My other two now, it they watched like this woman, and especially during their adolescence years. And, I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning it was like, okay, mom, like I'd get a lot of the eye rolls and,
mm,
whatever, and just kind of looking. But then I noticed as they got older and then they got into their life and their things, you know, it wasn't just hearing what I was saying, but it was watching what I was doing
mm,
and how they're relating it into their life. And listen, it's a struggle, and I'm not going to say it's perfect. And they're like, oh my gosh, mom is the best. And now she's so great and we're so great. And no, that's not real life. I have a 19 and 16-year-old, and it's a struggle. And they, during this COVID time and lockdown, it's really difficult on the youth, not only my girls, but, all my students. Um, and mental health is big right now. And it's something that is not spoken about a lot. And I feel very fortunate that I went through what I went through and my self development journey, because now I'm able to help them
mm,
so much more than I would have helped them when I was in a different place.
mm,
And because of that, I have a stronger foundation where I'm not doing the typical lashing out at my kids or not knowing how to control my emotions. So it's, in a nutshell, it has helped tremendously for me to be able to help them on their journey. And,
mm,
you know, help them evolve and create who they're meant to be. And, it's interesting for them. I think sometimes they might struggle a little bit more because they see clearer now, and they see the world spinning around them, and they know they don't want that typical, and there's nothing wrong with typical, that I don't want to get badgered, but like, they're not the kids that want to sit on a 9 to 5, or they know what they don't want. And I think that is a reflection of me pouring into them and watching their mother go through her 6-year journey and finding herself at 46. And I tell them, I don't want you to wait till you're 46. If you have to wait till you're 46, it's fine. It's your journey. But just being an open, supportive mother, because of my self-development journey. And I don't really know if I'm making myself clear because I feel like
No, you
I'm
are.
spinning around myself. Basically, in a nutshell, like, it's tough for them right now. It's tough for
Yeah.
the youth. And I just feel like I'm in a better place to help them
Yeah.
get through what they're going through. And for that, I'm forever grateful. Our relationship is definitely stronger. We have a better communication, because beforehand, there was a lot of screaming. There was a lot of door slamming. There was a lot of, you don't understand. There was a lot of me saying, you should do this. I wouldn't do this. And all that, I've just shifted my wording and shifted my guiding. And, with support and love, they need to create themselves. They need to find their gift, their light, their journey. They're going to go through dips, and they're in a rough season right now. And I said, yeah, you're in a rough season, but there will be a good season. But guess what? When you're in that good season, the rough season's coming again, but you'll be stronger. So it's
Yeah.
just, I'm fortunate of all the things that I'm doing and learning and growing. And if all I'm going to do is help my 2 daughters, then that's a gift in itself. And it's interesting just to even watch my husband shift. He's supportive. He's not on the same exact journey as I am, but he's a 1% every day too. And I could
Awesome.
either choose to focus and magnify his 1% or everything else. And it's tough.
Yeah.
And I'm being real and raw, because
Yeah.
marriages right now are tough.
Mm.
And a lot of people are struggling. There's so much divorce. And I'm working on, me personally, focusing on his 1% that he's working on every day, instead of
Wow.
everything he's not. Because it could be very easy for me to go, rant, 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 rant. You're
Yeah.
not growing here, here, here. But instead, I'm working on focusing on the fact that he's making a 1% increase every day. And yeah, so I don't know. I really just feel like it's important to, and I said this on another podcast. I don't know if you remember this, but I feel that, and this is just me personally, that because of the world and because of society, our light has been completely covered up with, bricks and blocks, whether it's what
Mm.
society says, or what your parents say, or, what your job says, or then self-doubt. And it just, you're constantly, you have this light, and it's just brick after brick after brick after brick, and it's completely covered. Yet there's this one little crack that's inside of all of us, that your light, our soul, our gift is just dying to come out. And I just feel I just have such a passion to help people chip away those bricks and blocks so they can just shine bright. And then they'll do
Yeah.
the same for the next person. And eventually we'll
Yeah.
just be this beautiful light and full of energy. And I really feel like our energies, because when your light is shining, you then attract energies and light
It's
around
so
you. And
true.
it's just, yeah.
Yeah. It's so, so
So
true.
I don't even
Yeah.
know where I just went, but this is where I
No, that
landed.
was so beautiful. I
I
think
was
a lot of
frolicking in
people
the meadow, so I don't know.
I think a lot of people will relate to that though. I think like we all feel inside that we're meant to be that light, and we're meant to be that we have a purpose and a gift
Mhm.
that's on our life. And I think we can feel that, like just the things of life can really just be heavy or covering
Yeah.
us. And just, I love that analogy of the bricks everywhere, but you still have this little crack of light that you just want to
Mhm.
burst out, And I think that's
Mhm.
really beautiful. And I really hope that even just through this interview, that will really encourage people to start exploring that and to start wanting to um, go down that path of just being that light and moving in their gifts and who they are. I love
Yeah,
that.
I hope so
Um,
too. And I also
mm,
just to feel, I'm sorry, yeah, I don't know if you
go,
wanted to
go, it's
wrap,
all
but
right.
I just was gonna say one other thing is I feel too is when you start to feel that pull to do that, and you're surrounded by people that are not like that, it makes it difficult. And
Yeah.
so, I challenge or employ people just to, find or just start doing something a little bit differently than, because when you do something different, you then start to, like I said, attract before the same types of people, the same
Mm,
like-minded people. Because I think right now too, especially being in quarantine, a lot of people are having a really difficult time knowing where they belong.
mm,
And whether they were furloughed or lost their job, or virtual school, or they're not with their friends, so there's like that lack of belongingness, if that's a word.
yeah. Yeah.
um but I can say that the biggest thing is, I mean, everybody belongs. We just have to find where we belong.
Mm,
And just because you feel like you're in a place right now that you don't belong, you do. We just now have to find where it is. And so,
yeah.
yeah, just want to say that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So just as we start to wind up the interview, is there anything else that you have on your heart that you'd like to share for anyone that's going through that journey of trying to be brave to speak out, or, you know?
I mean, I would say, I mean, we hear it all the time is, you know, if you want something different, we have to do something different. We hear
Mm,
that, and life happens at the end of our, comfort zone to get uncomfortable, which is all true, but it's hard. And I think that's the biggest thing is, know it's going to be difficult, because you know what, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
yeah,
But anything worth having is going to take some work and effort. So if it makes you sweat, if it makes you uncomfortable, push forward a little bit, because there could be just something on the other side, and surround yourself with people that are going to, raise you up and empower you. And if anybody wants to connect, through social media, Facebook, Instagram,
yeah,
I just would love to support and on anybody's journey. I mean, sometimes it just takes one person to say you're worth it, because you are worth it.
yeah,
You have a spirit in you for a reason. You have air in your lungs for a reason. So that means there's more for you to do out in this world. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome. So Kelly, if people are wanting to follow you or connect with you, where can they find you?
So I'm on Facebook at Kelly Coghlan, Coghlan,
Yep,
or I'm on Instagram at Ignite Your Life for You, and you can find
okay.
me there on Instagram as well. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks so much, Kelly. I'll pop those links in the
Thank you so
description
much.
box. And thank you so much for sharing your heart and your journey. It's just, I think it will inspire so many people. And I really appreciate your honesty and your rawness and your willingness to share your
Oh,
journey. So just thank you for coming on. I really appreciate that.
no, thank you. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. All
No
right.
worries. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our interview. If you're wanting to come along and see more interviews, you can hit subscribe or come along and check out my website at thevibrantexperience.com. Bye.
Bye-bye.